with my values of being responsible for nature. It is vital for me to ensure a green and great Mother Earth for all generations. I'm inspired to support the movement because I see the impact it has on individuals all around the world. With my 10 million tree planting project adding more impact to it. Earth Hour is important because it allows us to work towards achieving better resources for nature. Tourism and agriculture are the backbones for Tanzania's economy, and they're also nature-based. So if we don't stop climate change now, these sectors will collapse. I believe in the power of unity and that the climate crisis is a matter of urgency.
We are live. It is GW3Live, Tom Ford Fridays, the remix, The Art of the Loss, or The Art of Loss. I'm Renee Knorr, grateful to be here with you all. Today's episode is all about the art of love. In relationships, loss, it is inevitable, but it's part of life, right? But most importantly, we're going to show you how to navigate it within our relationships and how it can shape and grow with resilience. Today we have incredible co-hosts. Some are married, some are single, but most importantly, we're ready to bring on the Tom Ford Fridays. So whether you're in the clubhouse, make sure you share out the information. If you are right there on YouTube or even Facebook, please make sure you share out this information. Today's episode, truly, you don't want to miss it. We're looking forward to having Mr. Brandon Alaen alongside with Mrs. Antonia Pecot, our very own Trellis Taylor. And oh my goodness, guys, I am looking forward to a great show. So we'll be right back after this announcement.
I'm Renee Knorr, model, creative director, founder of Global Women Wealth Warriors, Wellness Hub, and GW3 Magazine. I dedicated my life and devoted my career into helping women and girls to achieving their goals. I've been passionate about empowering women and enriching men. This opportunity in working with the Global Women Wealth Warriors have afforded me the pleasure of traveling outside of the country to be a support unit, most importantly, to help impact and change lives. Our ultimate purpose is to help others to become whole from finance, spiritual, mental, as well as physical. We know there are challenges and obstacles to get you to the next level. However, it's time for you to level up, boss up, and welcome to Power to Soar.
And as we are soaring in 2024, go ahead on and put some black and white hearts in the chat. Again, welcome back to Tom Ford Fridays, the remix. And today is all about the art of loss in relationships, and we're grateful to have such incredible co-hosts that's going to be joining us today. Again, we are looking forward to today's topic. Are you ready? Are you ready? Well, our first co-host is not only one of the phenomenal ladies I've been knowing now for years. Oh my goodness. She's also a music artist. She's a writer alongside with just being a phenomenal woman. I would also say she's a virtuous woman as well. She's created our theme song, The Power of a Woman, our very own Mrs. Antonia Pecot. Let's go ahead on and welcome her to the stage. Hey, Miss Antonia.
Good morning, Renee.
Renee. You are making your debut with us this morning. Oh my goodness. I just love you so much. Thank you for being here.
Love you. And it is an honor to be here. Renee, you are just an amazing person. And it's just wonderful to be joined with you with the Global Women Wealth, and as a friend. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, I love you, and I'm so grateful that we are friends. I gather it's been since 2000 and probably 10, even probably before then. But you know what they say? We get better with time. And so, yes, I'm looking forward to our conversation. We're going to bring up our other co-host that's joining us today. Now, this giant here, he's not only traveled the world, he's making a global impact. So grateful to have Brandon back on with us. Truly, truly, Mr. Alaen is the man of the world over there in the Philippines, guys, as well as he's one of those sought after leaders from health, I would say wealth as well. We're grateful to have Mr. Brandon Alaen with us. Hey, Brandon, how are you doing today?
Hello, beautiful, incredible, amazing people. How's it going?
Everything's wonderful. How's everything there in the Philippines? What time is it there?
It's about 10:30. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we know for sure this time difference is a little bit crazy, but I'm so grateful that you've been able to join us this morning because we're still in the morning time for us, but happy that you are here and looking forward to hearing from you. We're going to bring up our last, but surely not least, our beautiful Miss Trellis Thomas. Not only she's a beautiful mother inside and out, every time she speaks the mic just drops. So how are you doing today, Miss Trellis? Woo, woo, woo. I can't hear you if you're saying something.
Hello. Brandon, so excited to talk about this matter and listen, it's happy favor, freedom, and God is Friday.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you know how we like to get started. Before we delve deep into today's subject matter, the art of loss, I just want to say, so excited that we've been able to read this incredible book right here, Black Fortunes, by the man himself, Mr. Shomari Hills. And we know this is just one of those books for the whole year of 2024 that we're reading. This community here, we're on 52. That's right, 52 books for this year alone. And we're going to go and talk about this book right here because it's definitely have been moving us from, even to talk about this whole topic today, the art of loss. But definitely we're looking forward to hearing some of you all's feedback from it. But before we do that, and before we delve into our subject matter for today, why don't you guys introduce yourself, and what we'll do is start with you, Miss Antonia Lawrence. Take it away, beautiful.
Good morning again, Renee. My name is Antonia Pecot. Recently changed from Lawrence to Pecot. Just got married about 6 months ago now. And I am a worship leader, songwriter. I've been involved in ministry and speaking and doing some great things for God. I'm excited to be a part of this world because I know that God has a purpose for me and to be a light and to be an inspiration to others. And so I'm excited about being here today. As I said, I've been involved in just public ministry for 20 years. As I said, writer and singer. And I'm blessed to be Renee.
And Brandon.
Hello. I'm Brandon Alaen. I just want to make sure you're not getting an echo. I'm kind of getting an echo on my ear. We're good?
I think we're good, Brandon.
Okay, just making sure. All right, amazing people. So I'm Brandon Alaen. I am a motivational speaker, growth and accountability coach. I'm an international model and a recording artist. So I am basically a 5-year-old, 4-year-old wild heart in the body of a 33-year-old man who is pursuing his dreams. I wasn't always this person. I was working at a job that I did not like. And I kind of had to sit with myself and say, what do I really want to do in my future? How do I really want to make money? And what is the legacy I want to leave on this earth? Because in life, you have two options. You leave a legacy or you leave a tombstone. And I know everybody here on stage with me is leaving a legacy. So I'm very proud to be speaking on here. And thank you once again, Renee Knorr, for having me up here.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Trellis Thomas. I am a mommy, a Grammy, a nurse, a best-selling author, a kingdom servant leader and influencer, national keynote speaker. I am a servant at heart. I'm so excited to sharing this conversation. So humbled and so honored to have this privilege yet again. I'm a nurse. I am all those things wrapped up into one, and most importantly, a daughter of the King.
Absolutely love the introductions. And yes, Mrs. Antonia Pecot, thank you so very much for being here, everyone. Well, guys, put some hearts up in the chat. The black and white hearts always are our Fridays for our Tom Ford Fridays. You know, not only we're going to talk about the art of loss, you know, even when we've been reading this book here alone, you know, just thinking about the journey of these 6 incredible pioneers. Right now, we just finished going over Mr. Robert Reed Church, and what a profound gent. Oh my goodness, we need more Robert Reed churches in the world. I'm just gonna let you guys know that from the beginning. But I'll say this, guys, because he had to not only face the loss of losing, but he lost from his business. I mean, things were just taken away from him, because we know we're talking about the story in the 1700s, the 1800s, when, you know, being black wasn't something that was so easy. How whatsoever, with his resiliency alongside with his intentionality to move things forward, it didn't stop him. It didn't stop him. If you attempt to try to take his work away from him, or his properties or things of that nature, he kept moving forward. So I guess I want us to talk about how we can think about, in the face of loss, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a job, or even a dream, how do you maintain a sense of self within your relationship? And that relationship means within yourself. So we're going to start with you, Brandon. You know, whether, like I said, you can have a reference of one of the others. It doesn't have, you know, everybody can have different experiences, but a dream, job, or even a loved one. How do you maintain that self within your, maintain a sense of self within your relationship?
So I have two things I want to talk about. The first thing is in March of last year, I lost my Instagram. I had accumulated about 30.6 thousand followers. And I was using it as a CRM for my online businesses. I had it as a storybook of my entire life in the last 6 years. And someone made a fake account and was trying to sell something. And the account kept getting reported. And when that account got reported, it kept getting a feedback loop. And since the name of that account was one letter off from mine ended up getting reported. And then mine got shut down, and they had like hard coded it. So I lost my Instagram. One day I wake up and I can't access my Instagram. And I go into a bit of a state of panic, because I'm living in a foreign country. And, you know, you live in a foreign country, Instagram was one of the ways that you stayed in contact with everyone that you lost, that you're not seeing anymore. And your business, I mean, you get followers. I use social media for business, and I lost all of those following. And it really hit this sense of like defeat. Like, am I ever going to be able to reach the accomplishments of what I want to do? Because social media is something I use very seriously. Well, I literally heard the divine voice say, build again. And the next day I got to building. It was very difficult, putting up another piece of content, showing up with 0 followers. But I can proudly say that in 6 years, I got 30,000 followers. But since I hit 0 recently, in 10 months, I have 15,000 followers. So I did half of what I've done in less than a year. Though it took me 6 years, I was able to do it in under a year. I was able to do half of that. And it's just going to continue scaling. And I realized, and one of my really close friends said that if you created that platform, it wasn't the following, it was you who built it. You made that. And I just started to realize that whenever things start to fall apart, but you gave your maximum effort, you can build again. And one other thing I want to share is a relationship. Right before I left the United States and moved to Asia, I was in a relationship for a year with the woman I thought was going to be my wife. And towards the end, found myself not fighting for this relationship because we sat with our vision boards and we realized she wants to work with South America. I want to work with Asia. And again, I heard that divine voice say, let her go. And I was like, what do you mean let her go? This is my future wife. This is everything. But when I let her go, I actually picked up the fullness of my dream. And now I've been living in Asia going on 2 years. And it's like, sometimes we want to hold on to things that are falling apart. Sometimes we want to feel devastated and we don't want to start again, but it's the art of building again and also letting go of what needs to be let go to become the fullness of who we are. So those are the two things. Instagram and ex-girlfriend are two examples of art of loss. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Oh my goodness, guys, please put some hearts up in the chat, because you know what you just said, not only was it sort of like a hard loss, you were faced with what if, you know, you didn't even understand the opportunities and even the possibilities that lied on the other side. And by you letting it go, look what has happened. Now you have been able to reach more of your full potential. So guys, definitely put some fire emojis up for Brandon share. We'd love to hear from you, Miss Trellis. Please pour in. And thank you, Brandon.
For me, just the loss of my dad in 2003 at the age of 57 to colon cancer, and the losses that I've had, you know, in relationships, in jobs. But what I've realized is that God doesn't see loss as we calculate loss. The losses that he allows us to have is for our gain. It just doesn't feel like that at the time. Because when I understood, as I lost things, I've lost the car. Listen, I've lost the car with situations that I could not manage financially. And what you don't manage properly, you won't maintain for the longevity. And so we have to learn how to manage our losses along with the wins. And so when I lost my dad, it was hurtful because his presence wasn't there. But I was rejoicing because I honored him in not only life, but took care of him until his last breath. And so I did not really see it as a loss. I saw it as I had the privilege of having my dad for 57 years. And God always knows best. And so again, he doesn't see loss as we see it. And most of the time we're devastated. Oh my God, I lost this. But just like he got it before, God will open those doors for gain. And it'll be even better than what you lost, because that's the kind of God we serve. What we think we need at the time, and he allows us to lose it, something better is coming down the pipe. So we got to get our focus off of what we lost and make room for what there is to gain.
Absolutely appreciate your message, Miss Trellis. You know, sometimes we just have to realize it's not even about our plan, it's about the master plan. And since we are here on borrowed time, we just have to realize within the time that we're here, we got to make the best of that time. And thank you for sharing, and definitely condolences to you losing your father as well. Mrs. Antonia Pecot, come on here.
Yes. This is such a, it's just a powerful, to just think about the things that I've lost over the years. You know, I've lost, one of the things I did not say, I have 6 children. I'm a grandmother of 10. And so I've had a lot of years of where, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly have come into my life, you know. And one of the things that I've lost a child, I've went through divorce, or I've lost of a marriage, and the thing that has kept me Renee, first and foremost, is knowing that God was with me. But I remember when I was going through the um, the season where I knew this relationship was not going to last. It just became a time when it was sucking the life out of me. That type of. And I heard the Lord say, I was driving along. I was driving about 3 hours from here to Alabama, and I heard the Lord say, just let it go. When Brandon talked about, letting go, we have to, sometimes that's the thing that we have to do. And Trellis said the same thing. Just letting go is what is the beginning of your healing process. That loss, yes, it does not feel good. There's all kinds of emotional turmoil and just so much going on. And as a human, we can feel so much. But when we learn to and make a decision to either react to the situation or respond, how are we going to respond? And also where we're going to put our faith in. We're going to put our faith in God, or we're going to you just focus on the negativity. And because God said He would never leave you, He'd never forsake you. So standing on the promises of God and the Word of God is really where our strength. When we're connected to Him, He will give you everything you need to come through any loss that we go through. He will give it to you. He said He works all things together for good to those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. He promised that to us. So even though, I had moments of just the tears, the crying, the loneliness, just the devastation of the loss. As I put my trust in Him, He began to restore me emotionally, physically, financially, all the things that I lost as a result of that particular trial. God has restored and has made me stronger and better because of what I went through. Now I have something to share with others who may be going through what I've already went through. And I can share the wisdom. I can be an encouragement to them because of what I went through. So that's that we have to look for the gold. We have to look for the gems that are involved in loss. We always have to look for the good, because God promised He'd work all things together for good. So yeah, that's my story. Oh, can't hear you.
I said, thank you for sharing your story, and congratulations on having 10 grandchildren as well. And sending condolences for you losing one of your children as well. But just knowing, just hearing your voice, we are just so proud to have you a part of this community, because one of the things that we truly appreciate is having different perspectives as well. We're going to talk more in regard to also how it even relates to when you're in a relationship, or even when you're out of a relationship, how you support others. I'll share my story in regard to my loss. We've had losses with family. I'll talk about one of the losses with when I was working for the bank. And, deep down inside, I knew it was time for me to go. However, I was still working towards holding on, right? And so I was putting in some really long hours. I was walking on eggshells. It felt like I was just like not supposed to be there. However, thinking that, of course, I just had my baby, we just had Janae. I was the one that was making sure that we could manage, certain things around the home. And the idea of just having that fear of losing that job at that time, it was just nerve-wracking for me. But I'll share this with you. You see, God already knew I wasn't destined for that position. He already knew He had something else. And what I was working on, trying to hold on to something that did not give me any more value anymore. I'm very passionate when it comes down to supporting people alongside with my customers. And I was just like holding on to my customers. But you know what? God had to push me out of that situation. Not only was I pushed out, guys, I was fired. And I was fired because of a discrepancy, a small discrepancy. And I felt like I was just so defeated. Oh my goodness. I was crying. But one of the things I didn't do, I didn't allow them to see me cry. Okay. I kept those tears inside when it was time for me to leave. But one of the things when I was in my journey of going home, my girlfriend's like, you can get another job. What are you talking about? Do you know who you are? I'm like, no. I was like second guessing myself, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. She said, stop crying. I want you to go and submit this, to this other company and do it today. And I did. Not only did I go and get interviewed, I wound up getting that position, and I told the truth about me being fired at the other position because I didn't know what else to do but to tell the truth, right? And they said, is that the only reason why? Because of the discrepancy? I said, yeah, I was the number one salesperson. Every week I was hitting my ranks. I was hitting my goals. Not only did they hire me, they doubled my salary and I had less responsibilities, okay? So I say this, sometimes we have to realize letting go is a great thing. Letting go, even if you're not even sure what's in front of you, you just have to let it go because you have more opportunities and more possibilities ahead of you as opposed to what you're probably in. And so I definitely was grateful. Not only did I get an opportunity of being able to travel, I got into a position that it was even more suited for me, and they really did respect and they loved me and they valued me. And that was one of the moments of losing a job. And of course, I'll share this story with you all. In losing my mother, she's so dear to me. Yes, she is. We're born on the same birthday. And, I couldn't even understand how is it that now God is placing her, like she was definitely the rock of the family, guys. She really was there to keep everybody whole. And I realized even by losing mom, it almost forced us as children to really let go, so we can grow. Because one of the greatest opportunities definitely is having a mother, but I don't even feel as if I would be so far along in my journey today if it wasn't because of me having to let my mother go. Now, keep this in mind. She lives through me each and every day. Yes, she does. So now as I travel the world, as I meet new individuals from celebrities that mom used to enjoy, like Sidney Poitier or Sir Sidney Poitier alongside with Danny Glover's, I make sure they know that I'm here meeting you on behalf of my mother. And so with that now, I can continue on living. She lives through me, and it just really gives me so much more, like you mentioned already, Miss Antonia, the wisdom, the life experiences, as well as just being able to keep that positivity afloat through everything that you do. So I'm grateful for loss, because to me, loss is also about a healing process too, because we still have to go through that as well. So guys, I want to talk about this because we're all been in relationships, or we are all in a relationship with our family members, whatever the case may be. With sometimes when it comes down to resilience, the loss, it's having a challenge, right? And we know loss challenges not only the fabric of relationships, but it can be a testing, through the strength of relationships and having that resiliency. I think also, Brandon, you had alluded to, you were in your relationship with the person that you thought that was just going to be your wife. And then unfortunately, you had to let that go as well. So the question is here for you all, how do you and your partner bounce back from even losing those, whether it's a stronger bond, or how do you bounce back in relationships with someone that is dear to you? What are some of the things that you do in that area? I would love to hear from you. Trellis, we'll start with you, and then we go to Brandon and then Mrs. Antonia.
I love that question, Renee, because raising daughters, 3 of them, they are all very outspoken, go figure, very very resilient and strong. And so we bump heads sometimes. But how we bounce back, in all transparency, my oldest daughter and I, we are kind of bumping heads right now. But I let her have her time. I still love her. And I tell my daughters, her friends, even though she doesn't want to talk to me right now, it's okay. Because I know God is going to restore. We've been here before, especially with my daughters. And not just one of them. Sometimes all three of them, because they don't like what I said. And they say I'm not listening, and we're just yeah. And my mom says that's because all of you are alike. And so knowing that the love that I have for my daughters, I don't care if we haven't spoken in 2-3 weeks. Let somebody mess with my babies. I'm coming. I don't care what the situation is, because you're still my daughter. And so my mom will say, when she finds out something, make it right. She says that every time, make it right, make it right. And so what I've learned is that when that tension comes in the relationship with whomever, the first thing I say, what could I have done better? Be accountable for what I have done and the part I played in it. Maybe we didn't communicate. Of course, we didn't see eye to eye because it's a conflict. But what can I learn from this? How can I be better? How can my response be better? Because as life is happening and we're living this life and we're developing relationships, listen, people are peopling. And we're not going to get along even with our beloved family, who we did not choose, and the ones we did. Wherever there's peoples, there's going to be conflict. And so I just have to say, how can I attempt to resolve this? Because one thing I've learned in relationships, and I said this on a platform, when I pause, ponder, pray, and proceed, when I'm heated and I'm not exercising emotional intelligence, because in the heat of the moment, all that goes out the window. Like my mentor says, when anger comes in, all common sense and logic leave. And so I have to literally bite down my tongue, walk away, because I've never had to apologize for something I decided not to say, because you can't take it back. They may forgive you, yes, but they're not going to forget what you said. And it's could have happened in 1999, 2024. Remember when you said, and you told me? Listen, the greatest way that we can move forward is first forgive ourselves, first forgive one another, and then sit down and have a heart-to-heart honest. I mean, and you have to be able to listen. The things that I went through, I had to take some hard conversation from my daughters. But humility said, I got to listen as to how it affected them, the things that I went through. And that was the beginning of our healing process. So for me, it's being accountable, making the necessary adjustments, and moving forward.
Love your share. Absolutely love your share. Can relate to some of those stories also. Okay. I have a daughter over here as well. Oh my goodness. So, Mr. Brandon, please pour in.
All right. So it's funny you were talking about the relationship, like how do you bounce back? Well, the beauty of it, when I ended that relationship, I came over here living in the Philippines, and she went off and got married. And you see, sometimes we hold on to things, and you could be literally the burden to the blessing that they need in their life, and for both of you. So definitely wanted to share that moment of encouragement. The other thing is I want to talk about the relationship with myself, because I haven't been in an actual committed relationship since that ended, but I've been really growing in a relationship with myself. A little background on me, I went through a very rough childhood. All forms of cases were involved. And me growing up, I was a very abusive to myself in lifestyle, mindset, the way I was treating myself. So what I could say that I've had to learn how to build in my relationship is not letting myself go, not letting my dreams go. And while living here in the Philippines, I decided to become a recording artist, which was a dream that I let go. In 2008, I tried out for American Idol. They told me, you're not what we're looking for. And I was like, well, forget it. I'm never going to be famous with singing anyways. So I let it go. And then recently, I now have 2 songs on Spotify. So I did show up to my dream working on an album, but it's like the things that you let go of, and in the art of loss, and in that moment, I realized I was building an album. Even though I wasn't recording music, I wasn't doing it. My entire story of my life was creating the music that I'm now going to produce. And the other thing is a relationship with myself. As I was sharing before we started here, I've gone to modeling agencies in Miami, and they said, we're not going to consider you because you're not 6 feet. And I'm just a little shorter than 6 feet. But because I wasn't 6 feet, they didn't even look at my photo. And I had a dream to be an international model. Well, fast forward, my photos have been shared in like over 90 countries. I have platforms that reach all these places. I've been on world stages, competed against the top international models, have projects coming up. I'm going to be creating a fashion line. So that rejection, it really, I needed to see for myself, like, how bad do I want this? And is one no going to be really that loss? And at that moment, it felt like the biggest heart loss. American Idol, I drove from Miami to Jacksonville with my grandparents in a pickup truck. It feels like a big loss when they say you're not what we're looking for. Same thing when you're going knocking on doors at agencies and you're like in your hometown. I became a model in Manila immediately. So it's like, maybe the reason you're getting these no's, maybe the reason you're doing these losses, because you're in the wrong direction. It takes me back to the promised land for the Israelites. They were in slavery and it was always going to be uncomfortable, but it was uncomfortable because they were on the wrong piece of land. Egypt was not their land. The promised land was the promise for them. So sometimes when things are starting to fall apart, yes, you're going through a fire, but it's a time for reflection as well. And that's what I've had to realize. And one thing I want to share with you guys is in the winter, a leaf falls off of the tree, but it needs to be pruned like that in order to grow back healthy. And it feels like the snow is just that the tree is dead, but the tree's not dead. It's just in a different season. So when you're starting to lose things, it's just, that's the season that you're in at that moment. And I can write a book of like the survival of a star and all the things that have been lost. But I could tell you that it got me into this amazing place where I'm now a recording artist and an international model and a motivational speaker with a platform that reaches 90 countries, because I just continued to keep holding on to myself. And I think that's more important. So now when a healthy relationship comes on from the outside of me, because my last relationship, it was a bit toxic because I didn't even love me. So how could I ever accept love from the outside? So if you want to really, it goes back into that self-reflection. And it's funny you said that, Trella. It's the reflection of self. But a lot of times, if your life is not looking how you need it to look, it's for you to reflect. And Renee Knorr, aren't we all grateful that Renee Knorr left the job of where she was so she could build the empire that she has today? So anybody who's listening to the sound of our voices, if things are starting to get lost, you need to ask yourself, is this fire to burn away the things that are happening or to transform you into the full version of yourself? And chances are it's both. It's to burn away what needs to leave, but also to form you into the ultimate form of who you need to be. So love you guys. I'm fired up. It's Friday night over here.
Woo, woo, woo. Guys, put some hearts in the chat. You got us all fired up. You're like that Robert Reed Church over there. You're just going to keep on with resilience. And I like the fact that what we have to realize, we have to keep reinventing ourselves as well. When sometimes we think that it's a loss, it's really not. It's setting us up for our comeback. What we have to do is learn in that journey, learn in that process, and rededicate ourselves to ourselves, because that's something that's really important. That self-improvement. We got to go through something. I'm going to read the quote that I sent out to everyone after Miss Antonia Lawrence, because truly, wherever you may be in this time, in this season, this is where you're supposed to be, right here. Guys, if you haven't shared out the room in the clubhouse, if you haven't shared out the room on Facebook or YouTube, what are you waiting for? Miss Antonia Lawrence, go ahead and pour in, beautiful.
Oh my God, Brandon, that was amazing. Such wisdom. And I'm telling you, and I know that comes from the experience of what you went through. There's no way you would have been able to share that without it coming from that place of experience. And what you said about the relationship with self is so vital, because if what we're telling ourselves will affect what's going on the outside of our lives, you know what I'm saying? If we're telling ourselves, oh, well, you're not anything, what's wrong with you? And you have these conversations, negative conversations with yourself, then that's what you're going to attract. But when you start, talking to yourself in the way and reminding yourself of how the goodness that God has put inside of you, the purpose God has put inside of you, all of the things that are positive. I know this room it is so that's why I love being a part of the GW3s, because the positivity, we need to constantly hear that positivity so that we can speak to ourselves in a way that is righteous and is right. And I'm just that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And the other thing about, as far as relationships, and I think it is so important for us to ask the question, is this relationship important to you, or is just being right more important to you? And I think as Trellis was talking about, you got to have humility, really, in order for any kind of healing to take place within relationships, or even within yourself. Because if you think that you all that, and you're not ready to learn or hear what others have to say, then you're not going anywhere. You're going to be stuck in that place, and that you're going to also block anything from coming into you, because you feel like you don't need to learn anything. But so when you have that humility in your life, you can be open to learning what you need to learn from whatever the conflict, whatever the situation that's going on in your life. And I think an apology is always a good place to start. I'm sorry that I made you feel whatever it is that that the issue is, so that it opens your heart and the other person's heart to be able to communicate honestly and effectively, and so that you can learn from the situation. I'm just newly married, and been 6 months now, and so I am like relearning some stuff, for sure. And it's been great, because it is so important. I'm learning that you can't change people. You can't force people to change. You have to allow them to be themselves. I'm sure that's what Trellis is experiencing with her daughters. They got to be themselves. And so you trying to force anything on somebody's, to do something is just wrong. And also that you are also have the opportunity to be yourself. So now it is that respect, the honesty, that is what is going to strengthen a relationship. And then from there, whether that person is supposed to, be a part of your life, or not supposed to be a part of your life. And of course, in a marriage situation, you're going to work until you come to that place of peace, and to love one another, to like one another, to enjoy one another, and do whatever it takes to be there for that person, be a blessing to one another. So I hope that answers the question there, Renee.
Of course it did. But first and foremost, I was married now, y'all. Okay? We just love the fact of hearing from you as a married woman, and honestly letting us know that it's not easy, right? And relationships are just seasonal. I mean, it's just like the season. When you think about it, we go through 4 seasons. Sometimes, we have to realize some people are in our lives just for that season. Okay, sometimes they're not there to be able to weather the storms throughout their journey, and we just have to respect that. That's a part of also that cycle of where we are in our lives. I know with Trellis, it's all about that trust that you're building with your daughters as well, and even realizing, that's why I say relationships is about that intimacy, being able to communicate and being able to have that connection even after things have been lost, being able to reconnect. I know with Janae and I, we literally had to find our love language so we could respect each other. And that was something that we were just like clashing And I'm so grateful now that I got out of the way, because I felt as if, as a mother, sometimes we feel as if, you got to follow what I say, do, and this, that, and other. That's not what it's about. Relationships is about a give or take. Relationships is about a compromise and respect. And then also that connection. You really want to be able to connect. And I think as we reflect upon certain things in our journey, as we reflect upon things that our individual experiences, not only does it give us the opportunity to get their input. That's really how we have to start speaking to others. It's like, well, what do you think about this? How do you feel about certain things, as opposed to just always saying, well, this is my way and that's it. So I had to really rededicate myself to Renee Knorr and getting to know myself again. And that's why it's important for us to go through processes of not only having ways of reading our way through, but also applying ourselves to books that can really help us to build up that, not only the solid foundation of who we are, but also allow us to be able to creatively think outside of, okay, so let me also utilize empathy. We talk about that emotional intelligence. A lot of people don't even realize the mindfulness. All of this is really important when we come to cultivating better relationships and having empathy towards others and being able to be supportive towards another. And so that's some of the things that I really am grateful, just hearing from you all, the importance. Now, we'll say this, in our journeys, because we don't really know what everybody's going through, right? And like what you said, Mrs. Antonia, we can't change anyone. Please put that in the chat. Do not try to change anyone. You have to accept people for who they are. And then if a person wants to be willing enough to change, we'll allow them to go through that personal journey, that personal growth, because that is something that they're going to need. You just have to be able to encourage that person throughout that process, because it definitely is just that. It's a process, and everybody have to heal. Everyone have to learn, and everyone have to grow at their own pace. Don't rush someone else, because when we start rushing someone else, we start taking other people's time for granted. And we don't want to do that, because we're here to not only be supportive, but we're here also for the long haul. Remember, that's something that's important, because we have to be able to accept people. We have to be able to accept not only in reality of just certain things that they've gone through, we have to accept sometimes the trauma that we don't even know what they've gone through. And so with that, it definitely takes not only a person that have wisdom, but a person that truly have understanding and that want to be there for you. But I'll say this, because this is a poem that I sent out to you guys. If you don't go through this, you will not be able to stand where God is taking you. You're going through this because you were built for this. Stand tall with your shoulders back and your head up high. This is where you will grow yourself. And that's something that you want to think about. Whatever you're going through right now, this is meant for you. It really is. It's meant for you to appreciate the journey. It's going to be meant for you to appreciate even the getting to know yourself. Even if you have to let go, it's okay to let go. Because when we let go, guys, God place him in the center of everything that you're doing. He'll be able to allow you to grow during that letting go season. So family, I'm so excited that we came together with this open communication of just being honest with ourselves, because what we want to do is make sure we're fostering those open communication channels, not only with our singles, our married couples, but also feelings. It's important, guys. And so I'm thankful that we have this community here that's supporting relationships. So you know how we close out for this Tom Ford Fridays is our remix. I always want to know not only what is that word that you're working on, but also today, how are you going to be able to be a support for another person? Share with us, what is it, that one word that you're working on, but talk about what it is that you're going to be doing to help to support someone else. And Brandon, we'll go to you first.
So I'm actually working on a campaign for men's mental health. And I'm going to be doing a lot more research and more in depth to figuring out what are little routines that men could do first thing in the morning in order to really have a better self-esteem. But I'm also going to start making sure that I compliment men more. You know, I feel like sometimes as we just kind of think things, but we don't say it, you know, and sometimes we'll say it because we want to sail, because we want to like be able to catch someone's attention, but to just genuinely compliment men and realize me being like international model and all these things, like I feel like it'll really raise a guy up if I'm the one complimenting them. So I guess the one thing I could really do is just edify men more, because men need it more now than ever. So that's definitely something I'm going to be working on.
Absolutely love that. You know, we're gonna go to, hold on. Absolutely love that, because you're correct. Men do need it more than even we thought that, and that's one of the reasons why the GW3 Global Society, we open up our arms to more men. So thank you for being here representing the men. Ms. Trellis, please pour in.
For me, it is, how can I, first of all, my word for this year is grace. So it's important to me to meet people where they are, family and friends, co-workers, all who I come in contact with, because truth is, we all have chapters in our lives that we don't want read out loud. Contrary to popular belief, as good as you try to put that foot forward, like you got it going on, and you all of that in a bag of chips, like you don't have any issues. Everybody has issues. And so my position is not to judge your issue, because your issue may not be my issue. But the bottom line is, we have issues. And so when we're deciding to work on ourselves in the relationships that we're cultivating, in healthy relationships that we're cultivating, we got to be able to have the hard conversations. And we got to, I heard my mentor talk about a sandwich. He likened that to a sandwich, where you say what the issue is, and the meat is, how can we fix it? And then the bottom of that sandwich is, how can we become better? And so when you compress that, you're not ignoring the issue. You're not acting like they don't exist. Listen, we got to be better in our relationships, because again, what I require, I reciprocate. And I have to be willing to say, you know what? I could have did that better. You know what? I was dead wrong. And so for me, an apology without a change in behavior is just words. And so I want 3 of the hardest words to say, or 2 words to say, I'm so sorry, or I'm sorry. Well, what are you sorry for? And we have to, you know, what I had to do with my daughters, I had to pinpoint, because they were pinpointing it for me. But I had to pinpoint and acknowledge where I fell short. And truth be told, as long as we're in this flesh, we are going to fall short. But the key is, if we're calling out the best in one another, it's just some people, you know, you're going to have to disconnect. As we talked about, I haven't been in a relationship for 8 years. And so my last one, I ended it because he was in a space that I did not want to go into. And so it didn't bring me peace. It didn't, we did not relate to one another. And just knowing that in your relationships, you have to see the value in each person that you're cultivating that relationship with, and they have to see the value in you. So if we're not going the same direction, it's okay. Nothing against you, nothing against me. It just means that this season of you in my life is over. And so now, in order to walk into the new season, and as I always say, in order to get God, what God has for me in all things, I gotta let go of some things. And I can't, because you know, we do this. We say, oh, I'm gonna give it to you, God. I'm gonna give that relationship to you. And then we try to fix it. But a lot of times when we try to fix it, you're not ready, and neither is that person. And so there's still a disconnect. But when we allow God to touch the hearts of both of us, then we can grow together, we can get better, and we can decide that, listen, you have to have some non-negotiables. We're never going to do this again because we know how it made each other feel. And so, like Maya Angelou says, people may forget what you say, they may forget what you do, but they never forget how you made them feel at that moment, because you can't take it back. Once it's out there,
That's
you
it.
can't take it back. And so for me, it's just calling out the best in relationships and choosing my words carefully and learning how to shut up. Quite frankly.
All right, now, Miss Trellis, thank you so very much. Miss Antonia.
Yes, my word, Renee, is love. You know, the world has all such a warped definition of what love is. You know, but when I began to started this relationship with my now husband, God began to let me know what to look for. Um, how do I recognize love? And he took me to 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. This is what it looks like. This is how we are to express love. It's patient. It's kind. It's not jealous. Does not brag. It is not arrogant. And as we were dating and just getting close to one another, I began to see these characteristics in him. And it allowed me to know, okay, yeah, I recognize love. I recognize it. And then it continues to say in 1 Corinthians 13, it does not seek its own benefit. So it's not selfish, it's not provoked, not easily provoked. And it goes on to say, it does not keep a record of wrong. It goes on to say, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but it rejoices in truth, and it keeps every confidence. It believes in all things, hopes in all things, endures all things. Love never fails. So this is what I want to express, this kind of love, not only to my new husband, but to everyone that I come in contact with. And whoever God puts in my sphere of influence, I want to be able to let them see what real love is all about, which comes from your connection with God, first and foremost. You can't love like this unless you have a relationship with God. And it's still, our humanity will often get in the way of this. And so we have to, say, I fell short today. I wasn't patient with, my kids, or I wasn't patient with this person. I wasn't patient while I'm driving. Somebody comes in front of you. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? You get all mad. So my heart is to perfect this expression the way that God, desires for me to do that. And this, this scripture was like everything to me as I was, in that process of getting to know my husband. And and even now in marriage, it is even more necessary because you're living with this person every single day. Okay. And they got their habits and you got yours, and all of these things. And so that's my goal, Renee. Love, the God love.
You're giving me chills over here. Oh my goodness, guys. Please put some hearts up for that's why she's married, you all. Okay. That's why she is married, that virtuous woman. What is so important. I appreciate the fact of what you just shared. Not only should we draw strength from each other, but we have to draw strength from the love that we can share, knowing that together we can overcome any loss. We can overcome anything when it comes to it through love. And that was such a profound statement, Mrs. Antonia. You know, if you can recall during COVID, remember, not everybody was used to being all sequestered with each other for what, 3 or 4 or 5 months. Look what happened during COVID. Literally, we had so many people have breakups and go opposite directions. It was probably because they didn't realize the importance of pulling closer to God as well. And during this journey, guys, I want us to continue on nourishing not only these relationships, but the relationships that we're getting ready to even be expanded or expanded into our lives. You know, our word for 2024 truly is expansion. And it's not just because we want to see the world, but that is a part of it as well. But it's because we want to help to restore relationships. We want to help to rebuild what we can do in our season and in our time. We embrace not only these important areas that we can help to transform lives, but I will say this, guys, it's been a transformation for us personally. This is like a personal relationship here that we're having with ourselves. And so when we have these personal relationships, all we can do is have these opportunities for us to grow, for us to use the resilience that is needed, and also for us to have those deeper connections. And that's truly what it's about in the season that we're in. And we do it from wisdom, we do it from experiences, but most importantly, like you heard Mrs. Antonio, we do it from love. You see, not everybody's ready for the love that we're ready to pour into them. And so you also have to put sometimes people in timeout. I don't mind saying that at all. You literally have to put people in timeout and give them about 6 or 7 books to read before they come back into your space. You got to give them some homework. You got to see if they're ready to go into rehab, or if they're even ready to go to speak to a psychiatrist. Because let me share this with you guys. In the journey that we're in right now, we can take everyone, but you got to be really ready to be on this calling that we're on. And not everybody's ready. So I say this. Let's get down to business. Let's get down to recommitting ourselves to ourselves. As Glendina said yesterday, not only you got to love you, but you got to love you with the right ingredients. You got to love you with the right motivation, as well as with the right intentionality. Brandon was able to love himself. That's why he's on this quest right now. And he's doing it unapologetically. And look what has happened. His queen now, she went with someone else. But you know what? He's high-fiving her because he already knows this land that he has right now. He's not only unstoppable, he's reaching his full potential. And I'll say this even with myself. When you know you have a large responsibility to be able to help others, not everybody can go on that journey with you. And you have to realize God already knows exactly what you need. Remember that. He knows exactly what you need. So just allow him to keep leading. Don't get it twisted, guys. Put God first in everything that you do and watch what he does. He'll show up in your life like never before. Well, guys, I'm so grateful that we've been able to get through this Tom Ford Fridays. Please put some hearts up in the chat. Today has been a remarkable day. And I just want to thank you guys all for being here today. Whether you're in the clubhouse, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, you're going to continue on connecting with these individuals. Please, let's make sure we do our part in showing up, not only for ourselves, but let's make sure we're showing up for God, because right now we're in this kingdom. We're his servants, and he's using us as vessels to make the impact that the world needs to see. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to roll those shoulders back. We're going to put our heads up high. It's time for us to what? It's time for us to go and be the impact that the world needs to see. I always say this, guys. We have the entire universe is our playground. But we have to realize just how much opportunities we have in front of us. Learn to let go of the past and walk forward into your future. The world needs another game changer. And that game changer is YOU. So guys, we want to thank you guys for joining us for GW3 Tom Ford Fridays, the remix. We look forward to seeing you on the other side of your greatness. Bye for now. Thank you guys for being here. Miss Antonia, thank you so very much. Mrs. Trellis, alongside with Brandon. We did it, guys. We did it. Woohoo!